Kyrsten Sinema, who have made negotiations for the social spending bill increasingly difficult in their own ways. Sources telling NBC News that Manchin's opposition to the clean energy program means it will likely be dropped from the Democrat spending bill. The $150 billion program is the most sweeping climate measure in the bill, aiming to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And while Sinema has been objecting to parts of the bill, like prescription drug pricing proposals and certain proposed tax increases, Politico reports that her campaign received, quote, $27,800 from PACs of pharmaceutical companies from July through September. Let's talk about this. Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California, also a member of the Appropriations and Budget Committees, joining me now. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us on this. Really appreciate it. Two names that I mentioned, that entire lead into you was Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, names that have been used and heard a lot over the last couple of days. And it really does seem like it's two against the rest of the Democratic Party. As we well know by now, the president siding with the progressives so far. What do you make of their influence on the reconciliation negotiations and this plan to possibly drop the clean energy program? How significant of a loss will that be?
Well, thank you very much, Yasmin. First of all, I wouldn't say that the president is on the side of the progressives. This is the Biden economic agenda that he ran on. People voted for President Biden based on what we're putting forth in terms of investments in the Build Back Better bill. Having said that, we have to look at what is at stake right now. We know that the climate crisis, it's an emergency. It's upon us. You just look at the wildfires, you look at hurricanes, you see how the weather is changing. The planet is getting hotter and hotter. And so we have to get this under control. We're going to continue to fight for the strongest climate provisions that we can get into this bill, recognizing it's a negotiation. But we've got to fight for this because the planet, our people, I'm a person of faith. I believe that we have a responsibility and a duty to protect the planet and for our faith reasons, as well as for the economic and our environmental positions and reasons. We know that the crisis is here, and we know that we can stop this crisis. And we know that this bill provides investments and strategies to do that. So we have to keep moving forward and fight for the strongest provisions that we can achieve in the bill.
I want to be clear here. One of the reasons why I said what I said, in which I said the president on the side of the progressives, was getting in lockstep with them when it came to wanting to get infrastructure and reconciliation on the same page, passing them possibly in tandem versus separately, as the speaker had initially wanted to do when that deadline came and went on September 27th. So I just want to be clear about that. Senator Bernie Sanders wrote an op-ed
and that was
in
part
a
of
West
the
Virginia newspaper.
That was part of the agreement.
Go ahead.
No, that was part of the agreement. Okay. Remember when the senators came out after the negotiations for the infrastructure package, the agreement was that the bills would follow a certain track that we're still hopefully on.
All right. So Senator Bernie Sanders wrote an op-ed in the Charleston Gazette-Mail and attacked Senator Joe Manchin. And in it, he wrote, in which the very rich get richer while ordinary Americans continue to struggle to make ends meet, in a way wanting to appeal to folks in that state. Joe Manchin did not take well to that. He did not take kindly to that. The Washington Post writing this isn't the first time an out-of-stater has tried to tell West Virginians what is best for them, despite having no relationship to our state. That was what Joe Manchin said in a tweet in response to the op-ed that Bernie Sanders wrote. Obviously, Sanders' approach to Manchin is not necessarily working. What is the right path forward to get Sinema and Manchin on board when it comes to reconciliation?
Well, the path forward, I think, is exactly what we're engaged in. First of all, we have investments in our infrastructure. We have priorities in terms of making sure that no one is left behind. When you look at the child care investments, we want to make sure that women especially can get back in the workforce. They cannot afford child care. We have in our Build Back Better bill provisions for housing. You know, there is a housing crisis in our country. Many unsheltered people. We have people who can't afford to buy a home. We have in our Build Back Better bill many provisions as it relates to middle class tax cut, ensuring that the child tax credit stays in the bill, which will help reduce significantly poverty among children. When you look at workforce development, when you look at the climate crisis, again, when you look at all of the provisions in these bills, we're negotiating right now, and we're talking about why, and the American people support this, and 98% of Democrats support this in our Democratic caucus. So this is a negotiation. No one said it was going to be easy, but we're going to continue to make sure that we put these investments in this bill so that people can receive them right away. People need help with their lives and their livelihoods, and they need to know that we're going to do something to help them immediately. And so these are negotiations that are taking place. I know the public has it's hard to remember how the process works given how dictatorial Donald Trump was. But this is how legislation works, and you're going to see different points of views, but we're going to get this done.
We'll be watching for October 31st. Congress